Yes, hi, hello, and welcome to Gooncast. I'm James, also known as Saber0307 on Twitch, and once again I'm joined by other goons.
Hi everybody, I'm Other Goons. No, I'm Cat Attack, aka the Attack Cat on Twitch. QA tester by day, part-time streamer, writer, artist by night.
What's up? I am Hired Goons. Lee Alder, the Valley Jester, horror fantasy writer, and occasional video editor.
And surprise, fuckers, we have a fourth goon! Say hello, fourth goon.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Michael. I go by Ghoulgutts on Twitch. I'm a musician and a fantasy horror writer, and today a de facto member of the Gooncast, the Goon Squad. Thank you everybody for having me.
Yeah. So
glad you're able to join us for this one.
Same. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
we are so pleased, and we have so much to talk about with you.
Yeah, it's a good one today.
Yes.
Yes. Topic near and dear to my heart.
The topic of Fear Street, right?
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me give the little intro here, because so for those of you who have been listening to the pod in the past couple months that we've been doing it, we gave a lot of time to Twin Peaks, which is a series very near and dear to James's heart. And we did an entire episode dedicated to Erased, which the same could be said for Cat. And so it was my turn to put the rest of the goons on the firing line. And I only thought it appropriate to have them sit through possibly my favorite film of all time, the masterpiece, and I do not use that word lightly, masterpiece of science fiction, 1986 James Cameron classic, Piranha 2: The Spawning.
I mean
aliens.
I really want to watch Piranha 2: The Spawning. James Cameron has a great quote about that movie where he's like, look, it's probably the best movie you'll see about flying piranha.
He's not wrong.
I mean, if you set the bar so low that you can just kind of skip over it, do you really count it as an achievement?
Slide right under the bar.
Yeah, just limbo under that shit.
Yeah.
Tell that to Justice League.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Mother.
So I subjected the goons to a double feature of the original Alien, which is of course a Ridley Scott classic and one of the finest pieces of horror ever made, and the sequel, Aliens by James Cameron, which, you know, part of what we're going to go into is the classic sequel debate, and we'll get around to that. But I believe just on its own, even without the I couldn't call it a legacy at that point, but the strong impression that Alien made on the series, or on the genre at large, the Aliens stands on its own as a powerhouse fucking film. Everything from the writing to the atmosphere, the set pieces, the music, everything that this thing accomplished in the late 80s is nothing short of astounding. And so I thought it would generate a little bit of a good discussion for this group here that tends to pride itself on having a decent taste in horror. And it only seemed fitting again that we bring in one of our resident horror masters, Ghoulgutts himself, Mike. So just right out the gate, let's just hit first impressions and maybe like a little bit of your history with the Alien franchise.
Yeah, sure. Well, if we're going into the first film, my first impressions on seeing this again, were still. I'm still blown away, and to be honest, seeing it with some people who know about film, y'all, it was an even more educational experience. I learned a couple things that I never knew about set making that definitely had me looking at the film in a new way. But in terms of my history with the series, I saw Alien probably at 9 or 10 years old. I thought it was amazing. I was hella scared, and since then, I've been kind of hooked. My mom like bought me some of the novels, some of the S.D. Perry. Yeah,
Yeah.
Shit.
and I was reading those in like middle school. So this series is for sure near and dear to my heart as well. And again, it is an honor to be a part of this convo. Thank you guys again.
Well,
S.D. Perry, the
you're
queen of
welcome.
novelized jank.
Dude, she does it so good though, man.
Those Resident Evil novels.
Oh, are you kidding
Oh
me?
my god, she's the one
dad-
who also wrote
I
the
love
Resident
them.
Evil novels?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hold on,
dude,
hold
and
on.
she killed it.
Her
She killed
dad,
it.
her dad was the one who wrote the Alien novels. Steve Perry.
Oh, Steve
S.D.
Perry.
Perry did the
Okay,
Resident Evil
okay.
novels.
No, it's family legacy.
Check me on that. Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
family business to
You know
write.
what?
Look,
Yeah.
Look, what a legacy to have.
Hell
It
yeah.
really is though. Yeah.
Fucking great.
Yeah.
If I can leave my progeny with that kind of, masterpiece to their name,
Yeah.
let's go.
Oh, like
And
I can imagine they were talking about dreams and ambitions, and he's like, "Now, honey, look, I know you have these big dreams of wanting to be a writer, but let me tell you where the money is, honey. Sci-fi jank."
oh, and
Oh my
she
God.
killed it. And the two of them worked on the AVP books in joint, or at the very least the first of the series. And to be honest, it was amazing. And yeah. So my history with the series does go a bit deep, but more so with these novels, though. So
Jeez.
yeah, maybe I'll
Uh,
have some lore to contribute.
James, do you want to talk about your history with the franchise?
I don't really know my history with the franchise just because it kind of blurs together. My dad is
Fair.
a film buff. My dad is a huge fan of James Cameron and was a huge fan of at least older Ridley Scott stuff. I don't know the first age, like how young I was when I saw Alien or Aliens. I know it was too young. I know my dad was the one who clued me in on the whole special edition thing. In fact, he has a Laserdisc player, and he has a whole collection of Laserdiscs. And there's also this Laserdisc rental store that was by our house. And one of the glorious things about Laserdiscs was there was no copy protection, so you could basically just stick in a cassette tape and tape the Laserdisc. Because Laserdiscs, I think, were like $60-$70 to own the movie or whatever. Like they
Wow.
were super fucking expensive.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of common practice. So, but like, I was super young. I had a couple of the Alien action figures that my dad or mom got me. And it's a shame that there's only 2 Alien movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there really could have been
Yeah.
so much more done with the franchise.
Absolute tragedy.
But it's so great that it ended like on that nice bow on the top note of everyone at the end of Aliens is alive and happy.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that we didn't have a couple prequels that
Oh,
expanded
yeah.
on flute playing
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
mystery
God.
boxes.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. So my history with the Alien franchise is going to be a little bit different than everybody else's because I did not really grow up on horror. It was sort of banned in my household because my parents raised me very strictly Catholic, and neither of them were huge movie buffs or just didn't like horror. So basically my fascination with horror movies in general and the Alien franchise in particular kind of happened in college once I got a little bit away from the childhood rebellion of I'm gonna
Your
be
Catholic
John the
rebellion days,
homicidal
yeah.
maniac
Yeah.
and yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
I'm engaged to a Catholic girl. Trust me, I get it.
yeah, no, the rebellion starts early, but the actual freedom to do anything about it doesn't start till much later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just binged nothing but horror in college, and yeah, Alien just absolutely still sticks out as just one of the like all-time greatest horror movies of all time for me. Just like everything. I mean, and rewatching it always, it's like it doesn't it doesn't lose anything on rewatch. It doesn't lose, you know, like just the script is so masterfully written. There's so much like in the details of like, you know, the miniatures and, you know, all the like practical effects that just like, it's you know, I was so glad when Lee suggested we watch these two movies because, you know, I'm like, I just love this movie, even on rewatches. And then Aliens, actually, I don't think I've ever seen the director's cut. So my experience with Aliens
blew me away.
Yeah, my experience with Aliens was only the theatrical version, which I kind of like passed off a little bit. And the director's cut is brilliant. So I was, you know, I like boo on me for not finding it earlier, but I was extremely grateful to have been introduced to it essentially now by you. And yeah, then since then I've just been, you know, since I'm from a parallel universe, I've just been more and more angry with the, you know, my universe has like 18 Alien sequels, so and they're progressively worse.
I'm sorry you live there.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, you know,
yeah,
you get sweet Michael Fassbender blowing himself.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah.
Someday Aliens Colonial Marine will come out and it'll be as good as we all hope it is.
Yeah.
Someday.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool, sure.
We don't have to live in the universe of the hybrid alien with the penis and vagina on its stomach.
Oh my god, when you guys showed me that. Oh dude.
So French.
It's so French.
It's even what the director said when he had it cut was this is way too French.
He cut the penis?
Yeah, they digitally removed the penis.
Okay. I just want to make sure I heard you right.
That's a real sentence.
Yeah.
That's a real sentence that pertains to the Alien franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, you know.
Well,
it's what you got to do sometimes. You got to digitally remove dicks.
It happens. It's a crazy world, this film thing. Let's see. My timeline, I think, started when I was around 5 or 6 because my dad exposed me to fictional violence at a really young age. I was good enough to beat Doom 2 when I was 4.
Shit.
And like I remember being excited when Alien Resurrection came out in theaters when I was 7.
Whoa.
Damn.
Which he took me to see. I saw Alien Resurrection in theaters at 7. Which turned me into the well-adjusted human being I am today.
Mm-hmm.
I can sympathize with that. My dad took me to see Escape from LA in theaters 5 times when I was like 9.
Fuck yeah, there you go.
It was a piece of shit
right there.
You know?
It was a piece of shit you saw 5 times. I mean, I had to see Be Cool with John Travolta twice in theaters, and let me tell you. But yeah, so I was binging those really early, and these days I call Aliens my screenplay movie because, like, gun to my head, if I had to sit down and try to write out every line of dialogue chronologically in the film, I could probably do 90% of it. Because I literally watched it every day when I was a kid. And then, yeah, as far as the special edition thing, it just made me think of a really funny story because my dad had me grow up on the theatrical cut. So when I found the director's cut later and found all that cool extra footage that we'll talk about, I mean, obviously, like, in my opinion, the best scene of the movie getting cut is a huge omission. That once I got him to rewatch the special edition, it blew his mind because my dad had a little bit of a substance issue growing up. And he was convinced, because he only saw it once while extremely high, that he thought he hallucinated the entire machine gun sequence with the turrets. He thought it was just some deranged fever dream and just chalked it up to, wow, what if that actually happened? And then I showed it to him and he had a little bit of a come to Jesus moment. But yeah, so I go way back with the franchise, and It's just one of those things that only gets better. You know, it's not one of those movies that you hold near and dear to your childhood, and then you try to watch it again later in life and go, oh, what did I see in that when I was younger? It's like, oh, wasn't Code Lyoko a great series? And then you go back and try to watch it, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
It was really cool when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles went back to feudal Japan. I'm sure that movie holds up.
Oh, dude, I love that movie.
So did I. I loved the shit out of it when I was a kid, but it's like, no. I tried watching it, I turned it off after 10 minutes, like, I'm gonna leave these memories behind.
Yeah. Good move.
Yeah. So Aliens kind of stands in this holy trinity of sequels. At least as a general consensus. Aliens, Terminator Judgment Day, and The Godfather Part 2 are kind of regarded as the 3 sequels that pound for pound could be better than the original. And with Alien, I think it's very interesting because the original and Aliens are 2 completely separate dynamics. One is a horror film. That sequel is science fiction action. While still heavily steeped in dark horror elements.
Yes.
Which you can't look past with the nature of the creature itself being, it's essentially a sexual creature, which is a whole different rabbit hole that we'll go down when we start talking about Mr. Giger.
Yeah, I can't really talk about the series without going there.
Without going into the ickies, yeah.
Yeah.
But extremely powerful movie right out the gate. Like what I want to talk about first is just listen to these names: Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Paul Reiser, Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, and James Cameron at the helm. For a science fiction movie, the late 80s was when it was starting to hit its stride. That's when a lot of people were taking chances and really wanting to push science fiction with the new technological developments that have been made, especially with like the abilities of good miniature work around that time, which Cameron utilized to its fullest effect. What a powerhouse fucking cast. And one that the Academy recognized with 7 Academy Award nominations, including Best Actress for Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time this fucking happened?
Not often, because the Academy kind of hates science fiction and they kind of hate horror.
Yeah. They definitely hate horror.
Yeah.
Science fiction, I think, has a bit more place in prestigious accolades like the Academy. But
like Cloud Atlas.
Yes. Yes. Horror's gonna have to do a lot of special things to get there. I think maybe Get Out was probably the closest we've come.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, Get Out did get Get Out
Mhm.
got a Best Picture nod, didn't it?
I think so, or it got something very very prestigious and well earned, in my opinion.
We should have had a Best Picture victory with Cabin in the Woods, but that's just me.
Oof, yeah. No, there's a lot of quality horror. It's not what the awards are looking for.
Well, what I want to open the floor up on is just the cast dynamic. The first half of this action movie has no action. The first battle sequence is like an hour and 20 minutes into the film. And the entire ride there is, to me, the best part of the movie. Like, the fight sequences are great. But, Jesus, that first half of the movie where it's just getting to know the crew, getting to know Ripley and what she's been through since the first movie. The dynamic of the Marines. It's fantastic writing, but a real sense of camaraderie and brotherhood that comes through the screen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think for me, one of the most fascinating parts is kind of, like you said, Alien and Aliens kind of, like work neck and neck in terms of quality, to the point where I almost don't even think it's a comparison because they're so vastly different. And I think one of those things is the cast dynamic, right? The original screenplay for Alien often gets like touted online as, they wrote the script with no genders or anything in mind for the characters. They were just last names, and then they cast, just based on whoever was perfect for the role, kind of thing. Which is something that's really cool, and I think would be interesting for more movies to do.
Agreed.
And the Alien, therefore, the cast dynamic is much more of a coworkers in space kind of vibe, I think is how I put it when we were watching.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of space truckers.
Yeah, exactly. And they're there to do their jobs, and they're like, all of the dialogue is they're talking business. There's no like unneeded sexual tension or, the stuff that a lot of like movies in the 70s and 80s would just shoehorn in because the lead is female or, whatever.
The only thing they have a hard on for is the bonus situation.
Can we talk about the bonus situation?
Yeah, can we address the bonus situation?
But then by contrast, I also feel like not every movie would benefit from that kind of script treatment, right? Like, because there are some stories that need to be told from certain lenses where you can't just strip out all parts of a character's identity. Certainly a character-driven piece would not function in a like vacuum last names only type of environment. It works flawlessly in Aliens, and it's an absolutely brilliant, or Alien rather, and it's an absolutely brilliant script. But in Aliens, all of these characters are very well defined. Like they are very much not just truckers in space. Each of the Marines has unique personalities, and you get to know them and like appreciate them for who they are, like assholes or whatever they might be. And yeah, I think it's very funny to see that those two very different approaches resulting in movies that still work amazingly well within this their own shared universe, right?
Yeah.
Because Aliens does not feel like it's a completely different world from Alien. It feels like different groups, different dynamics.
Definitely, yeah.
But it doesn't feel like such a huge departure, even though it, on paper it is.
Yeah,
You're going from strictly space horror to, what Lee said, the space sci-fi action with elements of horror.
It's this natural extension of the universe and world building that feels, like I said, natural, despite the fact that it's made years later by a different writer, different director, and different team fundamentally, and it just works so fucking well as a companion piece for the first film.
Yeah, and I think, Lee letting you guide the discussion, but when we were watching it, we had talked about that sort of means of expanding the universe, and how Aliens does it really well, and the most recent prequels falter a lot in that regard. I don't know if you were going to talk about that later.
What prequels?
But, yeah.
No, yeah, we can, if we're on topic with something, we can just dive right into it. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So so one of the biggest things too for me was that this felt like a very, very natural expansion of the universe. We get hints throughout dialogue of like what like what the universe is all about. I think you guys had brought up the that they just casually name drop like an alien race that they're like having sex with.
Arcturians, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh yeah, so you just from a throwaway lines of dialogue, you don't need somebody to like explain like, oh, we're part of this galactic federation and there are 46 known sentient species, blah 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 blah. You don't need to explain that bullshit. Just a throwaway line of dialogue says like, oh yeah, they are a spacefaring race that's found other spacefaring races and even intermingled with them.
Yeah.
Whereas the prequels, I feel like really like falter in that regard, because they try to expand the universe, and they almost go too big too fast. You know what I mean? Like they tried to expand it in more of a like less of a these are different people in the alien universe, and more like, yeah, it's the same. It's another crew of like scientists and Marines and whatever, going out to an alien planet, but there's going to be a whole lot more philosophical bullshit, and you're just like, but that's not that's not what makes an expanded universe interesting.
I think you're
You know?
completely right there. And yeah, like there is something to be said about the way these first two films give you just a silhouette of like lore, like, and aliens definitely. I just really, really appreciate the way that aliens gives you enough imagination lubricant or whatever to like really think about how deep this like story could go. And in my opinion, I feel like the biggest drop of world building is the queen, like knowing
Yes.
that there's a
Wholeheartedly
source
agreed.
of this whole, like seeing where those eggs from the first film came from makes you then imagine what the space jockeys were doing in their ship. Like, did they like carry queens around or something? Like, it's just a very deep foundation of lore that like was achieved very light-handedly, very subtly, and that's just brilliant to me, man.
And
But
Yes.
didn't you want film after film like with deep religious overtones saturating
Well,
everything?
I definitely didn't need that. No.
That's-
Yeah, no.
that's also what I wanted to mention too, because like, you know, Aliens does so much to expand the world, and like Prometheus and Alien Covenant try to expand, but like similar to like what I was mentioning about Resident Evil Village with the whole let's shoehorn in a fucking explanation for the umbrella logo. Like
Yes.
the explanation that they were going for with Covenant about how the aliens came to be just makes the world so much smaller.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was just about to diverge to that because they're trying to, with their very lofty goals of like explaining how the engineers are connected even to humanity, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they like, you know, the very beginning of Prometheus, right, is the engineer drinking the black goo and dissolving on Earth and
Yeah.
creating all life on
Honestly,
Earth.
exactly, yeah.
And it's just like, you know, one throwaway line about fucking aliens in Aliens did so much more to actually
Oh,
expand the
dude.
universe into an interesting place with a lot of extra questions and like a huge space for different types of characters and stories to take place.
Yeah.
Whereas like all of Prometheus just worked to shut that down of like, yep, everything is interconnected because we can't possibly have anything not be related to one another, because heaven forbid we don't have a Skywalker in this story. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
It's we don't need an
Uh.
explanation for why there were hundreds of eggs on an engineer's ship. Like
No.
the question of how did they get there is far more interesting than any answer that could be provided.
And
Yeah.
and even if you wanted to provide an answer, you don't provide a straight up answer. You provide more questions. That's how you keep the universe getting bigger, right? Like yeah, sure, you can maybe trace it back to this planet, but maybe now this planet is occupied by another species or something like that. Or you
Yeah.
find, you know, some other like Weyland-Goontani mining company or mining outposts there or something like that. I don't know. There's more things that you can do there than just like, hey, yeah, the engineers, when they get attacked by squid monsters, they birth proto aliens that then have to. It's just like Jesus Christ, like, like yeah, and also just it loses that mystique of, oh, it's just tied right back into humans, where in Alien, this thing is alien. And that's what makes it interesting. You don't know where it came from or why it's there or, you know, what it wants. It's just a horrifying sex monster.
Yeah. Well,
And also, oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, and it's also a refreshing touch to have this be a situation where, by establishing the Arcturians, the colonial marines kind of know what they're getting into. Not exactly, because they've never dealt with the xenomorphs before.
Yeah.
But they're trained for this kind of thing, not just for human on human warfare. They've dealt with shit. They refer to their missions as bug hunts, like, which is a very Starship Troopers reference. Which actually for the cast was mandatory reading. Every cast member of the Marines had to read Starship Troopers.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's like, are this ragtag group of soldiers going to get into some business with an alien race that they don't know how to handle? Not really. Like, they're out there fucking aliens. Like, they're just tasting a new flavor of what's out there in space.
Doesn't matter when it's Arcturian, baby.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when it's Arcturian, baby. We don't need this Jesus allegory of some dude melting into black shit and making humans somehow the root of all this.
It's so weak. And to add to that too, the fact that we establish the Marines and aliens as having, experience in, interstellar, intergalactic, relations / warfare, also means that the plot of Aliens is not an idiot plot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Unlike Covenant.
They're in over their head. They think they know what they're doing because they've been on bug hunts before, whatever. This is just another mission, but it's not. Whereas, just to bring it back to Prometheus and Covenant, is they're predicated entirely on the characters behaving in ways that are way too stupid for who those characters are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like sticking your face in a freaking open alien egg when a creepy robot tells you to.
Oh my God.
Or taking your helmet off because your machine says the air is clear, even though you've only been on the planet for like an hour.
Yeah, Max.
And you don't know what is on here.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the first fight sequence, because they spend all this time establishing that the Marines are not just badasses, but they know what they're doing.
They're prepared.
And they wind up facing an opponent that just starts to take away all of their advantages.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, we have this high-end technology. Oh, but you can't use your weapons because you're going to rupture a cooling system, and the aliens have acid blood. Okay, well, what about their natural camouflage? We have infrared. Oh, well, their body temperature doesn't read on infrared, so fuck you. Like, all these advantages they had are just getting ticked off the list, but not because of their own stupidity.
Yeah,
because they were just outclassed.
It's that and just the inexperience of Gorman. I wouldn't classify Gorman as an idiot plot. He's just in way over his head and trying to do shit by the book, and technical problems are getting in the way. And he's like, when he's trying to tell them, hey, I want you guys to get out of there. There's the radio static and shit like that. The worst thing he did, besides being, fucking dumbass Gorman, is just not tell them immediately, all right, you know what, guys, fuck the mission, let's regroup and rethink. Yeah. When they realize that the coolant tanks are down there. But that's not strictly an idiot plot, I'd say. Unlike,
no.
Oh, hey, here's this thing that looks clearly like a fucking snake. I'm gonna stick my face next to it.
Yeah. And besides that, one character doing something dumb or not optimal does not make an idiot plot. It's when that character does something like that with absolutely no motivation behind it. You know the motivation behind, what happens in Aliens, right? He's trying to prove himself, right? He's got something to prove. He's a brand new commander or whatever.
It's his second combat drop.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes sense that he would not just want to turn tail the second things start getting hard, because, that would make him look weak and foolish and what have you. But there's, when there's sort of no excuse for the characters to go back into the haunted ass house where two of their friends died, then it's kind of like, okay, this is just, people are just being stupid just because you didn't know how to you, the writer, didn't know how to properly motivate your characters into doing what you wanted your plot to do. But Aliens is so well structured because I mean, and, you know, it's Cameron's a great writer. Like he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to motivate characters, and you know, yeah, it's just sorry,
No,
getting a little off topic, but just that, yeah, it 100% it just goes down to, is this something that reasonably the character would do, even if it's not you know, the most optimal thing in that given situation.
Mhm.
You know, there's always going to be some suspension of disbelief of, you know, if they just rocket right off of the infested planet and nuke it from orbit, that there's not really a movie. You know, there could be, but like not to the level of what Aliens is. So
Yeah.
I am usually okay with one or two characters making stupid decisions, as long as one, it fits their character, and two, you know, it services the plot in a way that I can reasonably suspend my disbelief and say, well, that character did something stupid that I don't agree with personally, or I wouldn't have done in that situation, but I understand their motives, or at least I see what the writer was going for.
Not to mention Gorman also gets a fucking redemption arc. Like when he comes to from his coma, first thing he does is fucking apologize. Like, yo, I was out of line. I was in over my head. I fucked up. You know?
Yeah, that is the other thing, is when your characters do something stupid or selfish, you know, as a way to get your plot moving forward, make sure you call out the characters that do that from your other characters.
Yeah, at the very least, yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of stories try to just like hand wave that away and just get away with it. Just say like, oh yeah, this character did a stupid thing, but like, don't worry about it.
Daenerys forgot about the Iron Fleet.
Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's just like, no, you can't say she's a brilliant, you know, war chief if she's going to do something stupid like that. Like you have to actually give us a reason to not laugh out loud at that scene.
Well, so one thing I'll harp on, just so we can kind of move past that phase of it, but sort of loosely related, talking about just like the powerful bond between all of the Marines. So I had thought I heard this a couple of years ago, and I never looked into it further, but in preparation for the podcast, I did a little more research. And super cool behind the scenes thing, Cameron had all of the Marines basically spend all of their time training together as a unit.
Yep.
They were put through Marine training, but kept in their own little isolated squad, separate from Sigourney Weaver, Paul Reiser, and I can't remember Gorman's actor at the William Hope.
Yeah, I think so.
So they had not only that bond of soldiers together, but the separation from the higher ups who were in their ATV.
Yeah,
that's very clever.
Super strong move. And the casting of Al Matthews as Sergeant Apone, he's an actual Marine who served in combat for a number of years. He has 2 Purple Hearts. And they said that once they got Al onto the set, they gave him a little bit of room to like crack down on the rest of the crew and be like, if you see them doing things that aren't the Corps' standard, go ahead and get down on them.
Oh my god.
And so he would watch the crew for like trigger discipline and shit like that. So there's like an interview of Al, like, just, you know, that shit's not gonna fly in my Corps. Like,
that is so cool. And it makes complete sense, like seeing it on screen, like how much they all gel, you know?
Exactly.
It's really cool.
The only
the little relationships like Vasquez and Drake, like obviously having something going on between them, but they never really tell you straight up.
Yeah.
The one exception to that is just Michael Biehn, and that's only because he was like a last minute replacement for
Right.
What god damn it, Dexter's dad. I can't remember his name now.
Raiden.
Oh.
Raiden.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Michael Bihn's character was played.
Was
originally...
Wait. Raiden, as
from Annihilation.
From Annihilation.
Oh, I was like
James Remar.
Yeah.
James Remar.
James Remar.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, not good Raiden.
There's a couple. There's still a couple scenes in Aliens of like a behind the shot of Hicks or whatever, where it is James Remar. but
Whoa.
just something. I don't know why, but I guess Cameron wasn't liking how James Remar, he wasn't digging the performance or something like that. So basically, he fired James Remar and called up Michael Biehn and got Michael Biehn in at the last minute.
I believe I have heard that James Cameron can be kind of difficult to work with.
Oh, he was
yeah.
hated on the set of Aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this movie in particular, the Marines couldn't stand working with him.
Interesting.
The British film
they
crew
had a lot of
also too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the major British film crew.
They were like, how dare this guy come in and fucking replace Ridley Scott?
They were upset because they felt Cameron was too young. Cameron was only 30 at the time, I think.
Oh wow.
And
also,
Cameron tried to smooth
was Ridley
things
Scott
up.
supposed to direct Aliens?
No.
Okay.
He was onto another project.
Yeah.
And Cameron tried to smooth stuff over. He invited the cast and crew to come to a viewing in a theater of Terminator to just be like, here's what I can do. Like, let me show you what what my vision is. And they absolutely hated a lot of his choices, especially about like how to light scenes. Like he had the idea of when they're going through the hive for the first big action sequence of I want the hive to be super dark and just illuminated by the shoulder lamps of the Marines to make you feel isolated. And the British film crew's like, that's fucking dumb. We spent all this time and money building these sets. We want to light them properly. And Cameron's like, you guys are not getting it.
Yeah.
And they finally did wind up doing it Cameron's way with just the shoulder lamps and the fire from the flamethrower. And it looks fucking astounding.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
Like, I remember...
I feel like that's a little short-sighted, too, because film sets from the 80s, don't necessarily age the best.
No.
Yeah.
So sometimes the best-looking shots are the ones where, you use the most creative lighting to kind of get around the fact that, like, this doesn't really look real, but, like, hey, when it's just shoulder lamps and flamethrowers, it looks fucking great.
Like, if I remember correctly, too, even James Horner, the composer, did not get along with Cameron, and, like, the two were, I guess, at each other's throats.
Oh, wow.
And Horner fully anticipated to never get asked to work with Cameron again, which was why he was really surprised when, like, 10 some odd years later, Cameron hit him up and was like, hey, do you want to help score Titanic?
Nice. Well, like, see, I find that kind of admirable, actually. Like, again, I don't necessarily know, and I don't want to speculate or like, cast any unfair aspersions on Cameron, because this is like rumors we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Don't know if he's an asshole or not.
Rumors and like just third-party testimony and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but I think it does speak something to just his, artistic sensibilities, that he's willing to kind of, work with somebody that he deems like a really a true talent, even if they clash on things. You know, it's very easy, especially I think when you get to Cameron's level where you are a household name and can write your own fucking checks, to just be like, I'm only going to work with yes men. Right? But instead to go after like, hey, this guy did amazing work for me on previous movies. Yeah, we fought, but he's really, really good.
Yeah.
So I want to keep working with him, right? Like, I think, because it's also easy to hire your friends, right? Like, like, I like this guy. I want to keep working with him.
Cameron just strikes me as one of those filmmakers who knows what he wants and is not willing to compromise. But he has a reputation as being someone to fight with. Like, you could say David Lynch is that same type of person who's like, I have a vision and we're going to fucking do it. Yeah. But Lynch also has that reputation of who's going to say anything to David Lynch? Like, you're going to lose. Because he's a psycho person.
I mean, or, like with the, like a reference that I've made before on this podcast is like with the Star Wars prequels, where, it's like none of the original crew who made the original trilogy of Star Wars was there to kind of like either back up or oppose Lucas's ideas. So it was just all unfiltered George Lucas. And it, I'm not disparaging the guy because I think he does have good ideas. It's just he needs other quality people at his level to say,
Definitely.
no, George, we're not doing the Gungan.
There's this great quote I remember from comedian Patrice O'Neill, where he's talking about, I think he was initially making fun of Seth MacFarlane for Seth constantly trying to say that he's like he's a bigger personality than Family Guy, and Patrice is like, shut the fuck up, people like you because of the cartoon, just be quiet. And he was telling a story about Hanna-Barbera, the duo back in the day who did a lot of classic cartoons.
Yep.
And I guess at one point Hannah had tried to do the same thing and say, like, I'm bigger than Yogi Bear. And Barbera was there to slap the shit out of him and say, no, you're not. Shut up.
Yeah. There
Jar
always
Jar's the
seems
key
to
to
be a
everything.
risk. Yeah.
He's a funnier
Once you get
character than
that-
we've ever tried.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah, with that much like creative power, it's definitely a good move to put the right people beside you.
Yeah, one man's not an island,
For
Well,
sure.
you got to build you build your crew of people that you'd like to keep around you. Like director composer combinations are a huge one.
Yeah.
Not to double dip too much on Lynch because we just did like fucking 6 hours of talking about him.
So much Lynch.
His consistent working relationship with like Laura Dern. Kyle MacLachlan. Yeah, you build your stable of people that you know and trust.
Sure. And that's perfectly reasonable, but
but you don't just constantly, you don't do the Kennedy thing and like build Camelot. You don't.
Yes.
You don't just stock the house with all your own dudes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it like Martin Scorsese is another good example of like he sticks with his one editor, Thelma Shoemaker, and he'll work with some other people frequently like De Niro or DiCaprio or whatever, but for the most part like he cycles people out and like it's just like a couple people who he's like really trustworthy with, and not to get like too much off topic too, but like. I remember there was some quote where somebody asked Thelma Shoemaker, how could you edit such violent movies? And she just responds with, they're not violent until I edit them together.
That's
amen.
That's
to that.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's
what a
good.
flex.
For real.
I am the architect of violence.
God bless her. But yeah,
Damn.
it's
Just great.
You have your the people you like to work with, but like you don't want them to necessarily be like constant yes men or whatever, like you said, because otherwise you'll like you said the prequel trilogy where it's just this nobody's there to tell you if it's a bad idea or not. Yeah. Which I mean, and I wasn't obviously not involved in the making of that, so I can't rightly say whether there weren't people who tried to say things and just were turned away or not, but it definitely seems like from like behind the scenes type footage, seems like it was kind of an environment of we're doing what George wants kind of thing, like this is his ship to steer, so It's kind of almost, I imagine, the position that Ridley is in now, where he's such a powerhouse, where he's able to go like, we're gonna have this guy get face first next to a snake, and nobody's there to tell him, hey, Ridley, please.
You don't think that's a little weird? Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a question that I would like to posit to you guys as so both of these films, like they each have some incredibly like tight knit cast and characters, and I do personally believe that each movie wouldn't have been as good without that. But like, let's say like. What we learned about the first film is the script was like the script was drafted without any genders, and in the second film, this cast of soldiers were like meant to spend a lot of time together. before the filming even began. Like, what do you think these two movies would have been like without that like tightly knit character like web, you know?
Probably
I would say just
inferior.
watch Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's
Totally.
I think you would still have. I think the horror would probably still be effective with shitty characters.
Hmm.
If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Not as effective, but I do think that Alien certainly is scary with or without like knowing. Like I think particularly the practical effects Alien and how it was filmed in like
Yeah.
take for example the scene in Prometheus, the shower scene
Yeah.
where those two
yeah.
characters you don't give a fuck or wait, was that Prometheus or
no,
Covenant?
that was Covenant.
That was
Okay.
yeah.
In Covenant, the shower scene where those two characters you don't give a fuck about are
Yeah.
screwing in the shower. It's literally a slasher movie scene with the
Totally.
alien.
God, I hated that scene.
Yeah, where it falls completely flat. Yeah, I feel like you'll probably get a little bit of that, but I think there would still be elements of,
Right.
definitely seeing a guy get, an alien burst out of a guy's chest at dinner, I think would still be impactful,
Yeah,
even
like-
if you didn't like
Yeah.
the characters or.
I see. Yeah.
I've told you guys this story before, but like one of my favorite experiences with Aliens is showing somebody that movie who's never seen it before. It's on my list of movies that I like to watch with people who haven't seen, and I spend most of the time watching them and seeing their reactions. Like another good example is The Thing. But
Yeah, that's me with Tombstone.
like one of my favorite viewings of Aliens was when I showed my buddy AJ the movie, because he had somehow gone his 20 plus years never seeing the movie despite being into horror and all that crazy shit, and just seeing how pumped up and excited he was at the Colonial Marines and how likable the Colonial Marines were,
Yeah. Man.
only for that to immediately be deflated the second shit hit the fan, and seeing all these
Yeah.
fucking badass characters that you've grown to like over the last 20-30 minutes or so just get wiped out. Like,
Yeah.
that is, I think, part of the brilliance of Aliens and also Alien, is these characters are genuinely likable, and they're not stupid, and you don't really like. I mean, sure, where you watch a horror movie to see people get got in creative and interesting ways, absolutely. But like when a horror movie is super effective, I think it's when you don't want to see that happen to characters.
Agreed.
Like,
yeah.
It's like I love Bill Paxton's character in Aliens, and him going out it's heartbreaking. Or Vasquez, Vasquez, like I grew to like Gorman too, and just the two of them self-sacrificing themselves so they don't get torn apart, and so they can blow up the Horde and protect Hicks, Ripley, and Newt and shit like that. It rips your soul out, and it makes it much more effective, I think.
Yeah, and especially that first sequence when the Marines start dropping, it's like you can tell by that point that there's a couple of people in there who are a little expendable. Like whereas Basky and Crow, you're like, all right, you two are dead. But then to immediately take out Dietrich, their medic, so boom, you don't have a medical specialist anymore. Take out Frost. Frost is the guy with the ammo. But at the same time, he was Hicks's best friend. So now you've got something personal for Hicks. Take out Apone. They don't have a leader anymore. And then take out Drake. You've just pushed Vasquez's psycho button.
Yeah.
Like, you could not have arranged like a more fucked up group of people to take out in that first sequence.
Yeah. It makes it that much more effective. Or like in Alien, with I can't remember the fucking captain's name, him in the vents. I like him. He's a bit of a dick, but Tom Skerritt's character is Dallas. There we go. He's a solid enough character. And fucking Parker and Brett, their dynamic, especially, constant bickering about the whole bonus situation stuff, and then Brett getting got while trying to get the cat, and then Parker trying to save Veronica Cartwright's character,
Lambert.
Lambert.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just hits you that much harder when it's a likable character
Mm-hmm.
getting got, and like
Mhm.
unlike as you said with Covenant, where it's like those two people fucking in the shower. It's like these are
No one
these
cared.
no one cares because they weren't built up, they weren't likable, they weren't interesting. It's just body count. Like
Yeah,
sure,
I
I like Danny McBride's character, but I think most of that
But
is because it's Danny McBride.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's
Like
awesome.
that's more just pure casting than anything else.
Yeah.
Nothing in the script made him any more likable than anyone else.
I
think-
don't need two nobodies fucking in my Alien movie. I'll take Fassbender blowing Fassbender, but that's my limit.
Yeah, I think the only
Fassbender on
character
Fassbender action only.
I think the only character who I liked, who I was less familiar with as an actor in both of those movies is Noomi Rapace with Shaw, because I think she delivered a really
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
good
Yeah.
good
She
good
did.
performance.
She did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, honestly, if you took Shaw and wrote a better movie around her, I do actually enjoy the concept of, you know, as I
Yes.
mentioned earlier, I'm a Catholic schoolgirl at heart, and I like the concept of somebody having a crisis of faith and going out to try to find
Yeah,
her maker.
same.
That is
Yeah.
a pretty cool concept. The fact that the entire movie was structured on that.
And then
Is
she gets
what made it
murked off
bad.
camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
murked off camera in
Very-
between
yeah.
movies.
Yeah, sucks.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
to answer,
Terrible.
to answer Mikey's original question actually also leads into my next major point.
Awesome.
Aliens, I don't think you can have work as effectively without assigning certain genders to the characters, because we since the first movie has been finished now, we've established that Ripley is a woman, and that so much of her tragedy in this series now is as a mother,
Mm-hmm.
which is what really drives her relationship with Newt, which is the power dynamic of the movie, is Ripley and Newt's relationship
Yeah.
as a pseudo mother and daughter.
Which
now
I
you need
think is
to-
amazing.
You need to have certain gender roles in place. Having Hicks be male is starting to give like that, you know, that little bit of like, you know, Ripley's starting to move on emotionally. You know, she's getting a soft spot for Hicks. Bishop, I feel like, has to be a male character as a callback to Ash. Ash's attack on Ripley in the first film is meant to mimic a sexual assault. He rolls up a magazine and shoves it down her throat while looking at a crew member's pornography, and it's meant to be this horrible rape-like experience, as also a callback to the aliens themselves being bodily invaders. They're in their own way violators and rapists.
Yeah.
And Bishop has to be a male to fulfill that role so that Ripley can have that emotional, like, PTSD response, I guess. So aliens, you have to fill certain gender roles like that. But where this leads is right back to Ripley and Newt's relationship and the theme of the movie to me, which is mother versus mother.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's
Ripley
so
versus
good.
the queen.
Oh my
mother
God,
versus
it's
mother.
so good.
Which is why it shocked me so much when you guys were saying that scene that explicitly establishes Ripley as a mother
Yep.
and her loss as a mother was not in the theatrical cut of the movie.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people
Blows
think that
my
Alien
mind.
Isolation is doing an ass pull with
Well-
Ripley's daughter,
well,
and it's like,
So here's the thing. I just thought I missed something. Like, you know, because I have always heard like, oh yeah, I heard the backstory of it. I was like, yeah, she has a daughter, and
Yeah.
I thought it was maybe something that was established like off canon or in novelizations or in some movie I hadn't watched, because I've never seen Alien 3 or a couple of the other ones. I've seen
No.
like all the like AVP and stuff, but I assumed it was something that was established later and I missed it. But yeah, hearing that and then seeing this movie again with that scene in context, it's like, why would you ever cut that?
That's-
It's the scene for the viewers out there. It was the scene I was referring to earlier, which is the best in the film to me. Ripley has just, she's just finished like getting her medical evaluations after her long hypersleep. She sits down for a chat with douchebag Corpo Burke and says that she's been asleep for 57 years and that her daughter died of cancer at age 68.
Yeah.
And you slept through your daughter's entire life. And the last thing you told her was, I'll be home for your 11th birthday.
Oof.
Jesus Christ, it's a powerful scene. But you know what? It's not helping the pacing, and we gotta shave a couple minutes off.
Well, like I was mentioning during the screening too, from what I had read, when Sigourney Weaver found out that scene was getting cut, she threatened to not do any promotion for the movie unless they gave Cameron a director's cut that restored that scene. Because she was like, no, this is like
gangster.
The fucking heart of the goddamn movie. It's like one of the best scenes in the movie. It's vital to the narrative. Put it the fuck back in.
Yeah, and I think to call back to previously talking about the infamous that original Aliens was written, going back to the first movie and the infamous fact we brought up already that it was written without genders. Aliens really does not function that way and cannot be written without very specific, these are these characters for these reasons, which Lee expertly just outlined. And yeah, I think that just highlights that, like, there's essentially like these two very, very different ways of approaching a screenplay like that. Where you can write a decent horror movie without like stripping characters of certain basic sort of signifiers, the details. Or you can really, really lean into them by making motherhood one of the primary functions of your protagonist, essentially. And really making that a huge part of the theme of your movie. And that's a thing that it could not be done with a male character. Or
definitely.
I mean, it could be, but
Well, and again, it's something done with tact and nuance as well. You have the scene at the beginning where she hears that her daughter is dead. She breaks down into tears, sobbing. And then it isn't referenced again in the rest of the film. Because it doesn't need to be referenced. Like, and these
it makes her meeting Newt even more intense.
Exactly. And I think a really perfect comparison, again, to just drive home how far the franchise falls, Prometheus, right? A big part of Shaw's character is she cannot have children. And that becomes actively a huge part of the plot and the
climax of the movie.
The climax. And it's
which
I
is
think personally it's weaker for it.
They were
so
close to greatness with that aspect of her character that she cannot have children and is pitted against a race of creatures who are known for impregnating their victims. You are so close to fucking greatness.
Seriously.
Even impregnating the parts of members of the species who cannot get pregnant, right? They just anything goes. That's just how they how they generate
roll.
new. Yeah, exactly. That's how they propagate their species. So it's it would have been I mean, just man, a couple of changes.
These days, a plot point like Ripley's motherhood these days would have had like two different scenes of her talking to Hicks about her trust issues and like how she had a daughter, and we don't need that. What we get is one of the most subtle, touching moments of the movie where Newt is refusing to talk to Dietrich or Gorman, and Ripley gives her a sip of hot chocolate and just decides to clean her face. And there's that little I love the little moment of hard to believe there's a little girl under all of this. And Ripley looks at her this certain way, and you can almost hear her heart melt a little bit.
Yeah, it's so it's
perfect.
Everything about that scene is so subtle and it's so perfect. Like the whole, oops, I made a clean spot. I guess I gotta go clean the entire face now. Like it's
very,
such
a motherly line.
Yeah.
Nuance, people. Nuance.
It's so
powerful.
crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then to have that compared to again the mother versus mother, have that compared to the queen, who, I mean, in her own
Dude.
way, is a fantastic mother.
Dude,
she's
she's
great.
the coolest like monster in fiction to me for sure. Like,
I
Oh,
believe
God,
best
she's
And
so
she's a
cool.
Disney
S
princess.
class.
She is no, she's a Disney queen, Lee.
Yes,
Thank you very
yes.
much.
Royalty.
She's the queen. All
correct,
all
she
of
is
her
the queen.
children are Disney princesses.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right. That's
I
right.
believe Cameron specifically said he was like his whole thing with the queen was basically Grendel's mother. Just
Oh,
that sort of
I
thing.
love it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Interesting.
perfect. That's great. That's a really good.
Yeah.
I love it when people tie classic lit or like
Yeah,
mythology
myth,
into their
Yeah,
good stuff.
I like it when people are able to take something either from real world or mythology and like spin it to something else. Like, because the whole thing, like with the colonial marines versus the xenomorphs, it's Vietnam. It's a fucking Vietnam movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
I heard someone explain it that way, and once I heard that, I was like, oh my god, that makes a disturbing amount of sense.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That was Cameron's whole thing with the colonial marines was like, I'm making Vietnam in space, and Grendel's mother is the head of the forces.
Man, there you go.
Yeah. Although 0 out of 10, you know, we don't see Ripley playing the flute with Ripley.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
with a robot version of Ripley. Oh.
Yeah, no, her clone
That
from
movie should have just.
Resurrection.
Oh God.
Oh.
Oh.
Specifically the dying one who's just like, kill me. And it's like, no, not until we play the flute.
We have important fan service to attend to.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I want us to hit on what is perhaps a blessing and a curse,
All
which
right.
is the prominence of the alien in pop culture.
Hmm.
What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, certain horror characters over time have kind of hit that point of transcending their films and becoming pop culture icons. Like
Definitely.
Freddy's probably Jason's probably the biggest one because, you know, hockey masks on serial killers like became a thing after that.
I'd
Yeah.
actually say your first thing with Freddy being it is probably even more accurate just due to the fact that like pop culture even seeped into the movies where he became more jokey and everything like that too.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of the big time, you know, slashers, Michael Myers, Ghostface,
Yeah.
Yep.
the
You can
alien.
like buy the masks.
Yeah, exactly. The alien also reached that point of pop culture notoriety.
Yes.
You know, but it did kind of reach the point, at least to me, where I don't know if it cheapens the franchise as a whole to have the alien be something you can slap on a lunchbox. Something that you can make, you know, a Funko Pop of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not the underground music fan in me who's like, shit, that band was good until they signed to a label. Like,
Sure,
no,
sure.
I'm glad that the film is a massive success. But I feel like something is lost a little bit when something becomes like this kitschy little thing that you can put on a t-shirt and sell at Six Flags.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to send you 2 illustrations I did a couple years ago of an alien and the alien queen interacting with cats.
Oh, please send that to me too.
It really drives home my opinion on this
please.
point.
On that note, I think that's kind of almost unavoidable once anything becomes like remotely popular. It's just a matter of how the filmmakers or you know the creatives behind whatever it is handle it. And I'd say that, you know, post Aliens, everybody kind of like shit the bed a fair bit. So it's like, yeah, like the alien from like Alien 3 on is very, there's no real fear there because the movies were kind of like shitty and poorly made and everything like that. Whereas like Michael Myers was kind of that way too, from like almost every single fucking Halloween sequel being like inferior. Like the horror was removed, and it requires a talented filmmaker and a talented writer to bring that legitimacy and horror back, which, you know, at least in the case of Michael Myers, I think they did with Halloween 2018. So like I'd say as of right now, yeah, sure, absolutely, like the Alien is super kitschy and outside of the first two movies isn't quite what it once was and not really as scary anymore. But I think if, say, for example, Fox fucking finally came to their senses, or Disney, I guess, because Disney owns Fox, and greenlit Neil Blomkamp's Alien movie, and Neil Blomkamp, like, pulled his fucking weight and poured his heart into it and gave us a really good fucking movie, the Alien could come back to being, like, scary again. Like,
Truly scary.
I think another good example would be also Predator, you know, like, I'd say, like, post-Predator wasn't that scary, and then Predators, I'd say he came back to being a little scary.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we shot ourselves in the foot with weaponized autism.
Yeah.
Oh my god, let's not even go there.
Yeah.
I hated that movie.
So bad.
Yeah, and it shot the bed again real quick.
I think too, though, one of the most important impacts I think that the Alien has had on pop culture is creature design.
Oh, dude,
Yes.
yeah.
I
Raised
think
the bar, right?
Yeah.
absolutely, and the number of films, video games, TV shows that kind of reference the Alien in their, you know, in their monster designs is incredible. It's incredible to see how far-reaching it's gone. You know, I've probably talked on this podcast a tiny bit about how much I love the game Evolve. But many of the creature designs in Evolve are clearly H.R. Giger inspired.
Interesting.
That was a major
Especially-
point I wanted us to hit.
I gotta
Yeah,
check it out.
especially if you look at the Kraken in particular, is very like the form of its spine and tail are very alien.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head for something that I think is, I don't think it's understated, because I think enough people do reference it, but how there are so many copycats of the Aliens formula
Yeah.
because it is effective.
Yes.
Not just like stylistically as a movie, but like the world of it in general. Like Dead Space takes a lot of influence.
Yeah, for sure.
StarCraft takes a lot of influence, and admittedly outright theft from Warhammer.
Even the
is what it is.
first fucking Resident Evil movie is more aliens than Resident Evil.
First Resident Evil movie, yeah, absolutely. Oh god, the worst offender is the new fucking Zack Snyder zombie movie.
Oh my god.
Army
yes.
of the Dead is beat for beat aliens.
Structurally it's entirely aliens.
Oh, like you know, like credit to
Well,
Red Letter
yeah,
Media
that's
for really
great.
blowing up that one. But
Yes.
holy shit, it is a 1-to-1. But yeah, Aliens just kind of solidified a formula that was so effective that it's been taken and tampered with and replicated so many times. But yeah, like you were saying with Giger, you know, for those of you who don't know, the design of the Alien was already created by Giger before that first film.
Correct.
Okay,
It was-
so that's a thing that you all told me very not too long ago, and that blew me away. I was definitely shocked by it. That's incredible.
Yeah,
it was from a collection.
He was very well known for that style of sort of like futurism, pop weird, biomechanical. Yeah.
Or
No,
Our viewers won't be able to see it, obviously, but I just sent a picture to the rest of the goons on here with the original piece that Giger did in the Necronomicon art book.
Yeah, I was just digging
Which
that
was
up.
the
Yeah.
inspiration
very like
for Alien.
sexualized and disturbing, and
which they I'm so glad they didn't shy away from that
Correct. Yes.
in its implication in the film. Like the alien is a sexually terrifying creature.
Yes, I feel like the design, the creature design here really informed the sort of like, I don't know if you want to call it like actions or pathos of the creature. Just like it informed what the thing is. You know, sort of like in the way Pyramid Head's design really does inform what he is, kind of
what
thing.
it's gonna do.
Yeah.
It's not just going to kill you and eat you, it's going to violate you.
Yes.
Which I think Ridley Scott talked about in a few interviews, that the alien was meant to tap into a fear in the male audience of being dominated in a way that they didn't feel comfortable with.
Whoa.
It was a method of being attacked that to them, to like the macho alpha brain, completely like emasculated them.
And you know, that is a very unique thing for this franchise, because so often that kind of threat is employed exclusively against female characters in horror movies and B movies, especially before now, right? Like the implication of the slasher movie is entirely, you have sex and you get, run through the gut by a machete, right? It's, it's not exactly a subtle metaphor. But yeah, here it's a little bit turned on its head to where, the victims are the people you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care how big of a, macho guy you are. When you're thrown into the situation where it's like, give me a gun and I'll fight off those aliens, I should be in that horror movie. No, you're gonna be up against a crawling spider that's gonna throat fuck you and lay an egg in your stomach.
Yeah.
It's an unnerving experience for a number of reasons, and tapped into a type of fear that men at the time were not ready to face.
Yeah.
Which fucking, of all people, Giger is the one to expose you to that brand of horror.
It's amazing. So then the Queen's design would have been post that. Then it would have been during the creation of the movie. Then
Cameron is actually the one who made the
Cameron created the Queen design.
Okay.
Similarly, actually,
he did amazing then too.
Ridley Scott was the one who created the chest burster.
Yes, so you said, that's right.
So I'm dropping in the Discord what Giger's version of the chest burster looked like.
It looks like Godzilla.
Chicken fetus.
Yeah, they that's why they didn't go with it, because they said basically it looked like a plucked chicken. And
that's terrifying.
Wildly.
They wanted it to be something more horrific, which is why Ridley basically took the Giger alien design and just worked backwards to see
in infancy form. Yeah, totally.
And he's like, okay, so Giger, I respect your design, sir, and I respect your vision, but work with me here. I'm gonna take the monster and make it into even more of a penis.
Yeah,
and Giger just nods and takes a smoke and goes, yes.
Good.
Yeah. But do not
the student has become the master.
Do not have the penis come out of a vagina on the stomach. That is too French.
Out of the chest. That is the American way.
But yeah, there's a lot of interesting little tidbits.
Yeah, Cameron, not just responsible for the creation of the Queen, Cameron was responsible for the design of basically that whole world. All of the Weyland-Goontani structures, all of the Marines equipment. Cameron basically just went on a field day thinking of all the coolest shit he could.
That's awesome.
He also,
that's how you do it. That's how you expand a franchise.
He also redesigned or at least modified the look of the xenomorph. Like if you watch Alien, the head is much smoother. And in Aliens, the head is it's more rigid. It's ribbed, and he basically removed the smooth portion from it when had the ribbed rigid shit underneath, because he figured the smooth shit would crack during all the stunt stuff. So he was like, okay, we're gonna modify that. And his logic was, especially because he kind of knew he was gonna get some feedback or flack for redesigning, is that the alien we saw in Alien is like a newborn. Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
these are like
A newborn
older,
drone.
a few
more mature.
few weeks or months or whatever older.
Yeah, totally.
Their armors
I
had
love
time to
that.
harden.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love
That's
that.
so cool, dude.
And yeah, that's really doesn't feel like an ass pull. It feels like, I mean, it's also just like a very logical thing, right?
Exactly.
A lot of newborn creatures don't have the correct whatever vestiges formed yet.
Fully formed.
Look at
Yeah.
us!
like limbs
Look
or
at
whatever.
us! We've
Totally.
got weak little baby skulls when we're born.
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Some still do, like Q with her baby.
Yeah, oh
hands.
my god.
Aw.
She's gonna manifest in this channel and just murder
Slap
you.
the
Fuck.
gun at us. Yeah.
It's gonna be
Well,
great.
Oh man.
I want to hit one last topic. And James kind of touched on it for a brief moment, and that is what could have been with Alien 3.
Oh
There's-
boy.
Very
there's so
interesting.
fucking much of what could
Yeah.
have been. There's like, I think 5 or 6 fully completed screenplays of what Alien 3 could
Oh.
have been, and it
Ooh,
just kept
boy.
getting like tossed out. Like one of them even was because Sigourney Weaver was adamant about how she did not want to come back, so they wrote a Alien 3 with Hicks and Newt, and Sigourney Weaver had died in between the movies. And then Sigourney Weaver changed her mind because I guess they threw a lot of money at her, and they promised her that they'd kill off Ripley. So they basically threw out that story, and Steve Perry was already in the process of writing a novelization based off that screenplay. And basically, rather than like scrapping it, he basically just continued and just made it not Newt and not Hicks, which is why the main characters of his novels are effectively Hicks and Newt, just under different names.
That's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's one screenplay, I believe it was like a satellite planet made of wood. A lot of wild shit.
The planet made of
That
wood.
one sounds intensely interesting to me. Like, what is that?
Yeah, like I believe the guy who's responsible for the Riddick series wrote a script at one point. Yeah, like
Was
there's
that-
a
Oh,
Copeland?
that checks out.
there's a William Gibson script. There's a script by some guy named Eric Reed. There's the David Towie script. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's the whatchamacallit, the Riddick guy. There's the I guess Vincent Ward did one, and then Walter Hill and David Geeler did a pass on it, and it's just like this whole fucking mess of just writing and rewriting and tossing shit out and writing and rewriting. And like I believe when David Fincher was finally brought on board, there still wasn't even a finished screenplay. And like this is his first his theatrical debut, and there's not a finished screenplay, and Fox keeps interfering.
Oh geez.
And like
That's
just
such
he's
stress.
having like the worst fucking time
so
trying to get this shit done.
I believe I heard somewhere that like Alien 3 is one of the movies that like there's only a few movies in history that have been like disowned by their directors. And Alien 3 is one of them.
Yes.
And apparently David Fincher has a quote where somebody asked him about Alien 3. And it's basically him just saying that, like, you know, people would come up to him and say, you know, that Alien 3 is a really bad movie. And you just kind of have to agree with them, you know? And I'm like, oh, David.
Dude.
Yeah, he I mentioned it to you guys briefly before, but like his experience making Alien 3 was so fucking terrible that when Fox approached him to do Fight Club, he immediately said no.
Oh.
They had to convince him to come and do
Yeah.
Fight Club. Like
Yeah.
he if I recall, he went into a depression after Alien 3 and went back to doing music videos for a while until he was
Man.
able to do 7. And even 7, New Line actually tried to fuck him over on that one, but Brad Pitt stepped up and was like, "No, if
him.
you fuck with this, I'm out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I adore David Fincher as a director. I think I've loved almost all of his movies with very few exceptions, with like
Same.
2 exceptions. So yeah, hearing that Alien 3 broke him so hard because mostly studio and the mess that was that production, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, like even the extended cut or whatever for Alien 3, it's called the producer's cut because he refused to come and do a director's cut.
Oh my
Because he's
God.
like,
Good
it's
for
not
him.
it's not my fucking movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking touch it.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
still allowed himself to be credited on the movie.
Yes,
despite,
he did not Alan Smithy. That yeah.
But he fucking hates that movie.
Yeah. And yeah, understandable.
And so now we've got this like, you know, this lingering dream film that is realistically not going to happen, but a take on Alien 3 continuing that Hicks and Newt story with Ripley being dead.
Mhm.
Or they'll go in the whole reboot direction and have Ripley in it. Who fucking knows? But I think at this point it's so stuck in production theory limbo that it's not even going to happen.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, a large part of that also stems from Ridley Scott.
Is this Blomkamp's?
Yeah, this is Blomkamp's.
Okay.
A large part of that also stems from Ridley Scott, from what I've heard, where he greenlit it, but then he decided, let's get through all these prequels first. And because Ridley Scott keeps wanting to add more and more fucking prequels, like, it started out as a singular prequel, Prometheus, and then it ballooned into, well, I'm going to make a trilogy of prequels. And then I think the last quote I heard before... Well, no, it's going to be even more, Mike, because I think the last quote that I heard from Ridley was like, oh, you know, it's going to be like 5 prequels. Who knows? It could be more. We could do 100 of these things.
Oh, no.
But
the fact that he even said we could do 100 of these things, he doesn't give a fuck then.
Yeah, at this point, it's kind of in Disney's camp, since Disney is the one who now owns the franchise. And Ridley is getting up there, so who knows if he'd be even able to do it anymore.
No, we need to divert all of our time and resources and energy towards the Alien adaptation that we desperately need, which is an LV-426 world in Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yes.
Correct. I was going to say the Alien adaptation that we need, which is David Lynch's Alien.
Whoa.
Just the chest burster comes out. Fuck you!
The chest burster comes out smoking a cigarette.
Talking backwards.
Eating a piece of pie. Yeah.
It'll
be fantastic.
It'll be the chest burster will be the baby from Eraserhead.
Oh my god.
Jesus. Well, that's about my my gigantic list of notes that I wanted to hit, and I believe we were going to briefly touch on another unrelated topic before we wrapped.
Before we get to that, because the whole purpose of this was your thing of like, which is the better movie, even though we all agree that like it's a difficult question because they're so different in tone and everything like that.
Yeah, I'd like to hear you.
I do think there's a way to do like, what is your preferred viewing experience of like Alien or Aliens, because I still think even with both of them, like liking both of them equally, there's probably one that each of us prefers for one reason or another that we watch more than the other.
I am a hard believer in the sequel. I think Aliens is my favorite of the two and the best of the two.
Nice.
I think it is. I think it's incredibly difficult to directly compare them, but in a situation like this, you kind of have to at least have them in the same conversation. It's not like comparing Predator 1 and 2 or Terminator 1 and 2.
I do disagree with you on the Terminator 1. I disagree with you on that, but yes.
No. I'm not saying in the sense that that one is clearly better than the other. That's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that you can compare Terminator 1 and 2 because stylistically they're similar.
Yeah.
Sure.
One is more of a horror movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say Terminator 1 is a straight-out slasher movie, and Terminator 2 is more of a bombastic action movie.
Yeah, so they are kind of similar.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah, I think that's great. My my opinion, counter to Lee, and I think mostly just because I have more experience with the good version of this film than I do with the good version of the other film, is I just think Alien is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So I personally, and also, I am much more of a sci-fi horror nerd than a sci-fi action nerd. So therefore that does weigh me a little bit too. But I do think that having now seen the director's cut, I do have a much I do have a much higher opinion of the second movie, especially in regards to the themes of motherhood. So like delicately touched upon in a way that really enhances the film and does not steal the spotlight from the good of it. But yeah, in general, I would still say that Alien, for me, is the superior viewing experience.
All right, fair. Mike, what you got?
I think between the two of them, I'm with you, Lee. The sequel is it's a more fun viewing experience, of course, but even in terms of horror, seeing it as an adult and as a kid, there's different layers of why it was so scary. Even, but even now, like seeing this elite group of soldiers be dismantled by like a real hive of these creatures, to me is just like terrifying still. And again, like I have, as a writer and as just a dark weird nerd, like the alien queen to me is just one of the most interesting concepts, creatures in fiction. And like that movie, to be honest, like opened up my mind to like horror in a real way. And so there's always don't
be afraid to say it. The alien queen's a waifu.
I wasn't gonna put myself out there.
Damn, bro, she's thick.
Like that.
She's got built-in heels, baby. She's got built-in heels.
She gonna step on you, boy.
Yo, she's fucking fabulous. She's like doing the most, like, for her babies. Like,
that's
I don't know,
right.
shit is
She's a woman of principle.
And yeah, just like also. I just remember during my first viewings and even now, just like the concept of what if an alien queen was just dropped off on any planet, and like this is a concept that's used in the Predator series like a bit more, and is one of the only effective links to the two series. But like, just knowing how like seeing how like the alien species could propagate any planet is just like just grade A like terror, grade A like conceptualization, and I just can't get enough of that. So two is just very near and dear to my heart. And it may just be those few points, you know. I can definitely, with conviction, say that Alien 1, like sitting down and seeing that, is a more nail biting, like breath holding, like experience. But I don't know. It just doesn't get me personally as good.
They're just two different flavors. It's peanut butter and chocolate.
For sure.
Exactly. We all agree that we love them both. It's just
totally.
End of the day, if you gun to your head, which do you pick?
Yeah, I would have
James,
to.
help me out, buddy.
You pick Piranha 2: The Spawning.
Alien Warrior? No.
No.
So,
Alien versus Hunter?
Alien versus Hunter, there we go. I think I've seen Aliens far more, and I would say it's definitely the more fun flick, but I think of the two, I probably prefer the Alien. There's
we got a perfect split.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot of it stems because I mean the filmmaking in Aliens is great, and its budget is fantastic, and the score is pumping and everything like that, but just the the fact that you especially if you don't know shit about the franchise and you don't know what to expect, and it's basically Alien is basically a haunted house movie, except for it's a spaceship or whatever. And there's a little bit of the corporate bullshit, and Ash is certainly a shitheel and everything like that, but like the characters are just normies who are underprepared, and even though I love the fucking Marines, that's a little bit more of a draw, I think, like, it's because I fucking love horror and I love action science fiction, but like one thing I can say is, even though Aliens definitely has a lot of really fucking strong horror elements to it, is it does lose a little bit of the horror, because like we know Ripley is experienced in what these things are. It's kind of like a chief criticism I have of bringing back Resident Evil. Yeah, that's a great example of just their power levels kind of get too high, figuratively speaking.
When you're like, Leon's up against a fucking mutant T-Rex and he's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got this.
It's I kind of appreciate the fact that like they don't have any form of self-defense. They're completely just scraping together whatever the fuck they can, like just makeshift trucker equipment, like the flamethrowers and whatnot.
Great point. Yeah, they have to just scrap together whatever crap they can, but like it's like if you're trying to craft in like an RPG, but you've only got like level 3 crafting out of 100.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're just like taking sticks and bones and tying them together. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, and that makes it a little stronger for me. It's just that
and there's that great set piece in the first Alien where it's literally them just like trying to stop the acid blood from eating through their hull.
Yeah.
And killing them all.
Yeah.
That was a really good little bit of horror there
great,
that
like,
was only tangentially related to the actual
Yeah.
Well, that's the perfect like way to ship across like how fucked they are. Is like, we just gave a small surgical incision to one of this thing's legs, and it nearly killed us by eating through the hole. What is going to happen if we actually manage to blow a hole through one?
Dude.
Like, we're fucked.
Yeah. And I think that stuff like that is why I think I would, with a gun to my head, I'd take the first movie. Plus there is, and I would love to see this reincorporated into the franchise, but there's that deleted scene that's in the director's cut of how the alien makes an egg without a queen.
Oh.
Wait, that's a deleted scene from the first.
No, describe, please.
Oh, yeah.
So
Please,
there's a scene where Ripley is like trying to basically explore and get through the ship and whatever, and she finds Dallas. And Dallas is basically cocooned to the wall, and he's basically fucked. He's been like, I think in the script, the alien's tail, when it like stabs you, it kind of injects like a paralysis type poison into you, so you're kind of fucked. And we also see Brett, and Brett is being morphed into an egg.
Oh wow!
Oh, geez.
And it's a genuinely horrifying bit of body horror, and like Ripley has to basically, if I recall, torch Dallas and Brett.
She burns him.
Yeah,
Dallas is the first person to say "kill me"
awesome.
I see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Visually,
I'm down that.
Yeah, same.
Hunt down that deleted scene then.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Visually, it sounds intense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking great, and like that definitely kind of like I would love to see that sort of like reincorporated into the franchise at some point.
That's very interesting. In the books, just a tidbit or whatever. When there's no queen, a drone can become a queen and thus start to like lay eggs and stuff. It's
Which is
they're very much like ants. Like
I was gonna say that's an ant thing.
Yeah.
and that's also a part of what
These
makes
things
them
ain't
so
ants, man.
fascinating to me, dude. Dude, it's so cool.
I definitely think though that like having that element of a creature being able to create its own young out of like another creature.
That's intense too.
God. I
It's
love
a great
it.
way to it's a great way
it's
to
so
drive
fucking
home the trait of the creature, which is its entire thing. It's like distilled down to a singular purpose. Its thing is evolution and reproduction.
Yes.
And in the absence of its queen, it will adapt to continue to do those things. It's like, oh God, no wonder
that's
you're
what I'm saying, man. Exactly.
God.
They're so cool. They're just too cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Like, I love both movies, but like as I said, if gun to my head, I think I'd go with the first one.
I love that we have an even split.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sam, that's very cool.
I love it.
It's a really tough call though for me because I fucking love Aliens.
Yeah.
Stop by Yuka Savage's Red, White, and Blue Balls cosplay channel, dressing some dapper danglies in the garb of freedom. Subscribe today and get a $5 off coupon for Crazy Lenny's House of Hash Browns and Tire Irons. Ooh yeah, dig it, freak out.
Well, damn, thank you. Thank you for humoring me on the alien conversation.
Hell yeah, dude. Thank you for not necessarily introducing us to something new, but reintroducing us to a very beloved franchise.
Yeah.
And hell, you did introduce me to the director's cut, which is by far superior. So thank you.
Everything's better with robot machine guns.
Yeah, and it was a director's cut that wasn't 4 hours long and with a half an hour of slow motion.
It needed ancient Amazonian lamentations.
Guys, it needed to be in 4:3 aspect ratio to preserve.
That's true.
Preserve James Cameron's original vision.
Insanity.
Speaking of beloved franchises, James, I Hate You, The Conjuring 3 and Spiral were fucking garbage.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, so we should preface this by saying originally we invited Mike along to discuss a bunch of terrible movies we made him sit through.
To be fair, we didn't know they were going to be that bad at the time.
I was hoping that this would come up because it's definitely become a through line joke here. That,
Life happened, and we ended up kind of having to rearrange the schedule a little bit, and we wanted to talk about something good.
And I hate to tell you, Mike, but the joke is too good at this point.
Yeah, whatever. Now we're diving into it.
We're going back
Let's
to
talk Spiral and Conjuring 3.
This is the only good thing that you're watching, Mike. Is Alien. It's gonna be garbage from here on out.
I'm gonna keep my thoughts on these two very brief because if I really start to go into how much I hated these two things, this podcast is gonna be 4 hours long.
Yeah, let's definitely keep it brief.
Yeah.
So which one first?
I'm just gonna go and say that I hated Conjuring 3 more. I was expecting.
Gonna say, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I Conjuring, like, I like Conjuring 1 and I like Conjuring 2. I fucking hate kind of the expanded Conjuring universe. I've only seen bits and bobs of the Annabelle shit and the Nun shit and the fucking La Llorona. And it's all fucking garbage. There's some schlocky, jump-scary, over-the-top bullshit in the two Conjuring movies. But there's a craft that James Wan has, and like a care for detail and pacing and structure and
I don't love that he's become like the definitive voice of ghost horror in the past couple years, just because he's to me a little over reliant on jump scares and very basic techniques. But there's no denying that he does have a very keen eye and a skill for
Yeah.
delivering horror on screen. Like there is a quality to his movies that is it's high, it's a high bar, right?
Yeah, and more
Um,
importantly, he doesn't open his movie up with stealing one of the most iconic horror shots.
Oh my god.
movie history.
All right, you said it.
When
Let's
all
get-
four of
let's
us were
get
like,
to it.
Exorcist, what the fuck?
Oh, I saw some bullshit little article. It was probably BuzzFeed that said like, "Did you catch this
Ugh.
Easter
Oh,
egg to a
jeez.
horror
Ugh.
classic in Conjuring 3?" And it's a side by side of the two Exorcist shots,
Oh
and I'm
my
just like,
God.
"You fucking
Yeah.
Yeah,
monsters!"
so I think one of the I think we all kind of armchair script doctored this while we were watching it.
Oh hell yeah!
And very specifically James came, like, well, I mean, I think it was all of us like riffing together on it, but then James kind of hit the nail on the head with and I forget entirely what it was, but you had like the perfect solution to what would have made this film actually decent.
So
It's about the courtroom sequence,
yeah,
wasn't
so
it?
Exactly.
basically, because the whole fucking movie is at like one of the reasons why I'm so fucking mad about it is it's the movie's false advertising, because it's leading you to believe that it's going to be something like similar maybe to like the exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yes.
Or like the oh my god, I think it's called Fear Itself.
Yeah,
The one with
something like
Ed
that.
Norton.
Yeah,
Where,
Primal Fear.
where
I haven't seen
Primal
that
Fear,
one.
Primal
thank you.
Fear.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, I was expecting Primal Fear.
Yeah.
I thought Primal Fear in the Conjuring universe with, focused on the Warrens would have been a
Mhm.
cool movie.
Yeah.
The Satanist.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So
A
basically, like,
powerful adversary, Lee. Don't forget.
so my basic thing would have been like you open with post murder, dude walking down the street, right?
Mhm.
And the rest of the movie is the court case and witness testimony and flashbacks of leading up to
Yeah,
this
that sounds
murder.
great. Yeah.
And the big ending would have been the stupid fucking gigantic exorcism scene that they opened the movie with, which immediately deflated any and all tension for the rest of the fucking movie because they put Emily Rose at the fucking start.
Exactly.
Not to mention what like the more I think about it too, right? The movie is really offensive to me. Not just on like a bad filmmaking level, but this was a real fucking murder where that somebody fucking died in. And you can argue like whatever about like the supernatural shenanigans behind it and everything like that. But a real fucking person died.
Yeah.
And the movie barely fucking touches that and just really goes to great lengths to come up with some fucking fictional convoluted Satanist Scooby-Doo bullshit to justify that. And it's like, that's really fucking shitty and offensive
Callous.
and
Yeah.
callous to the person who fucking died.
Mhm.
Like, sure, like, whether or not supernatural shit is real is its own discussion. Whether or not the dude was really fucking possessed is its own fucking discussion. But like the way it's handled in this movie, just God, it's just infuriating. Like, because like you could maybe suspend your disbelief in Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2 about the finer details of what happened. But like one look at the Wikipedia page for this court case, for like the murder and the aftermath, the entire movie is fucking fiction. And I mean, sure, you know that going in, but you can't suspend your disbelief. It's just it's just upsetting and callous and infuriating, and it's this dumb Satanist bullshit, and the whole movie is just relying on, oh, you like Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? You like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. And it's like, yes, I like those characters, and they're still great in this movie, but that is not alone enough to save the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, while we were watching, we also commented on the fact that this movie is overly reliant on the previous films to establish the Warrens' characters.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. That's so
'cause
big.
in the movie, they don't even feel like the Warrens that we know and love.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
they're like Ed is like really antagonistic and snappy because he's been injured, and so he's like and oh my god, Lorraine is just, you know, sort of, I keep wanting to call him Patrick and Vera, so it's like
Lorraine has fucking
don't-
superpowers now.
yeah, she just has superpowers, and you don't feel their connection at all. Whereas, like, you know, Conjuring 2, you know, my God, there's just
that was
like
the whole movie. That was why.
yeah, and
that was why it was good.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many cute scenes of them, you know, essentially displaying how much they love each other.
Yeah, like when I think
it was a unique bond for this type of movie.
Yeah,
exactly, because you like or even just like little scenes of, you know, Patrick Wilson singing Elvis to the kids at Christmas.
It's so fucking cute and wholesome and
there's
adds
none of
levity.
that in this movie.
Yeah.
None of it.
It's just cheap.
It loses
fucking
entirely
jump
the heart.
scares and
Yes.
and all this other stupid shit that they needed to add to make it bombastic and over the top, even though like the big fucking ending where the demon is coming after the dude in prison and like the glass is breaking and there's like 16
There's
witnesses
security
and there's
cameras.
security cameras. It's like, this would clearly get the fucking guy off.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly there's supernatural shenanigans going on. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That movie made me real mad. Spiral didn't make me that mad. I was expecting it to be dumb, but it was
do we
dumber than I
want
expected.
to switch to Spiral?
I'll switch to Spiral after I say my only thought on The Conjuring 3, which is, as I've said before, Ed Warren is the P.T. Barnum of the Catholic Church.
Yes. Perfect. Flawless. Yeah, the real life people were awful, and it's tough to be like, I enjoy these, or I enjoyed Conjuring 1 and 2, even knowing that the real world people behind them are kind of pieces of shit.
Yeah,
it's the same way I can enjoy The Greatest Showman. Like,
it's like you just kind of get over the fact that, like, these are just fictional. These are fictional characters. They're not they're based on the real people, but like this glorified version of them that, you know, as long as you, I think, keep in the back of your mind that, like, this isn't real. These people don't exist. It's fine.
Also, the devil didn't make him do anything. It was a fucking Satanist. It wasn't the goddamn devil.
Yeah, it was a spooky witch.
Oh, and I mentioned this when we were doing our viewing. Like, our perception of Satanists in general is vastly different in this day and age than they were back in the time when the story was set.
Yes.
Satanists these days are generally considered to be more open-minded because the actual book of Satanism is about the idea of, like, hey, don't be a dick. Like, that's basically your credo. Your credo is just like, don't be an asshole. So it's like, I just kept envisioning, like, oh, the Satanist is growing too powerful. And it's some dude with a hipster beard and a beanie eating a scone and drinking a kombucha. Like, hey, man, do you want to, like, check out this poetry I'm writing? He's too powerful. Like, get the fuck out of here with that.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail. Oh,
Jesus.
my God.
Yeah, hated it.
Yeah.
And then Spiral was surprisingly even a bit dumber than a normal Saw movie.
Yeah. So when we were watching it, I voiced this to the crew, but I kind of felt like almost like this was one of those, they had a screenplay and then they adapted it into a Saw sequel.
Hellraiser 5 through 8.
Yes. You're totally right, Kat.
That is what it felt like, because honestly, up until the last maybe 20 minutes, it just felt like a serial killer horror movie with traps.
Yeah.
I'll give the movie one kudos, which is I think that Chris Rock did an excellent job of playing Chris Rock.
An unfunny
because if you're trying to tell me he was any other character, you're fucking wrong.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely right. And James said a few times during our viewing of it that it seems like he just was down to do his, like, stand-up act in the middle of the movie, you know?
Yes.
And it felt kind of
stand-up.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And this is the second Saw movie in a row where the copycat Jigsaw has basically the exact same motive and is the exact same thing of just they're in law enforcement and they're trying to clean up dirty cops
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for this one was a far more heavy-handed and less entertainingly stupid, since most of the traps were pretty lame.
They were
Let's
lame.
talk
Trap in the
about
hole.
the
yeah,
traps.
yeah. One trap was, it was basically the Child's Play remake of Saw remakes, because
Yeah.
there was one kill that was good, and also I think we all pointed out that none of the traps were escapable.
Yes.
Like they were all
They
really
weren't
bad if they were supposed to be
escapable.
Jigsaw-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't there to like teach any kind of, there's
Nope.
like no like there's no purpose. It was just like torture,
Yeah.
Yes, it was just which, and also I think I brought this up when we were reviewing it. The first kill in the subway is very similar to the opening of Fear.com.
You did
Yeah.
say that, yeah.
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 So and also stylistically, we have all of the other Saw movies are edited very sort of like 90s music video aesthetic, I guess, like very like punk editing.
Yeah.
9 Inch
This-
Nails. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one felt very it felt like it was cribbing on Seven, which
Mm.
I know is a criticism that the original Saw movie received, where it's like, oh, this is banking on Seven and kind of very Seven-esque, but it's like, no, but this is actually feels like Seven. They have
Yeah.
like the muted yellowish color palette, and it like all of the editing felt very Fincher than original Saw.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I find myself having to be pretty hard on Spiral, like from a moral standpoint, but I'm also just spiritually exhausted because
Yeah.
Saw 1, I don't just like it, I love it. I think the first Saw movie is in my top 10 favorite films ever.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I would like honestly like that is why I have respect for James Wan, because I do think he is a really good writer and a really good director. I just think that he's a little over reliant on very tropey things nowadays, but he's still good. I'm not denying he's not good. There's a reason he's as big of a household name as he is right now.
Sure.
Right.
And
I
Tobin Bell, oh my god.
Tobin Bell,
Right?
yeah,
Oh,
slaps.
classic.
Like, yeah.
And let's
You
not
can't-
forget
and the thing
Donnie,
is,
I wish I was my
and one of
brother
the main
Mark.
reasons why this doesn't feel like a Saw movie is because there's barely any tie-in to Jigsaw. There's not even a mention of him, which you could argue that the original Saw movies get a little bit too like up their own ass with the twists of like, oh, before he died, he had
Yes.
all of these machinations in place to like do this, this, and this.
How many fucking
It's like,
apprentices
okay,
does he
that's a
have?
little much, but
Well, that's the
yeah, exactly. How many twist apprentices can he have?
That's the painful thing is
But yeah, this one, like they briefly mentioned, like, oh, it's a copycat of that Jigsaw killer.
Right, like I was saying, like Saw is one of my top 10 favorite movies. However, I hate the Saw franchise. I don't like 2, I don't like 3, I don't like any other in the series. I think the first is a fantastic standalone film that should have been just left the fuck alone. And as soon as it started branching out into a series, yes, 2 and 3 have some highlightable moments, but I feel like it damaged the integrity of what could have been a perfect standalone film.
I will.
And
Yeah.
so when I say I'm spiritually exhausted with it, I'm just tired of mentally giving the franchise a chance.
I can dig that.
Like-
I think for me, I almost class the first movie and the sequels as different entities, if that makes sense.
That's
Yeah.
where I'm at, Kat, because like
Yeah.
I enjoy the rest of the franchise, but for different reasons.
Exactly.
Like,
They become almost like a haunted house ride, or
Yeah,
so like a
it's-
carnival
it's-
attraction.
For me, it's how stupid can this shit get?
Yes.
And that's kind of why I was excited for Spiral. I was like, all right, let's see how stupid this can get, or maybe it'll be back to basics like Saw 1. And it
seemed like
was stupid in different ways that just
Exactly.
wasn't fun.
It seemed like it was going to be a return to form of Saw 1. That's why I was excited for it. And then
Yeah.
the Fear.com intro immediately was like, oh no.
Yeah.
This does not bode well.
No, it like this like it was disappointing, although it didn't make me as mad as Conjuring 3. Because I
That's
Sure.
true.
I fucking I really like Conjuring 1 and 2, and I had
Yeah. I feel like that
Res-
series maybe had farther to fall than Saw. Saw was
Yeah.
already in the dirt.
like I had reservations about Conjuring 3 because it wasn't James Wan going into
Yeah.
it, and I was like, all right, well, how bad could it get? And then we saw when it opens with a big dumb exorcism scene and it rips off the exorcist shot and
God.
whatever.
Yeah, where you don't care about any of the characters in this like traumatic extended
Yeah.
violent scene because, other than Ed and Lorraine, who are mostly there as P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, remember how the first Conjuring opens up, where it's literally just a couple describing the stupid doll to Ed and Lorraine?
Yes.
And
where you have a little taste of another case they worked on.
Yeah, or
Same thing with the Amityville case in Conjuring 2.
Yeah.
That's a good way to open it, where it's like, okay, we don't have to be invested in these characters. We're just here to see Lorraine psychicking her way through a historical, haunting moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this one just opening with that action scene and then immediately trying to like somehow make it as if we care about these characters at all after this. It's like, what?
Yeah. It was it was real bad. And a lot of
I think
stupid
actually to go back to Spiral real quick, to get back to Spiral, I wanted to ask about, because I think we had divergent opinions on the ending. Because for me, the ending was kind of the only part that actually felt like Saw.
Hmm.
And I'm curious what you guys think.
I partially agree.
Because also we should mention Samuel L. Jackson's role and the
Yeah.
fact that the movie seemed really hell-bent on including as many references to Samuel L. Jackson's filmography as possible.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there were a lot of Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction references.
A lot of
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction, like to the point where it was just like literally at the end, they revealed that the main character, the Chris Rock's character, whose name is Zeke is short for Ezekiel. And I immediately was like, James, pause the fucking movie. Is that another Pulp Fiction reference?
Mhm.
And everyone was like, oh my God.
Dude.
Yeah. I partially agree that the ending felt Saw-esque.
Like a Saw movie.
Yeah. My big problem is like Spiral felt overall very, 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 very heavy-handed with the idea of police corruption. Similar to how like Saw
Yeah.
6 was very, very, very heavy-handed about the shittiness of medical insurance. But like for me, Spiral took it a step further, where it's like you can clearly see Sam Jackson is tied up, and
Yeah.
I mean,
puppet on strings.
Yeah,
and
puppet.
Chris Rock is
non-threatening.
non-threatening, and Chris Rock
Just
is
bound.
screaming, "Don't!" and the cops just gun him down, and I'm just like,
Open up on him.
this is just a bit much and a bit excessive.
I think I know what they were trying to go for, and I think it fell flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what they were trying to go for would have been a Saw-esque ending.
Exactly. So I'm giving it maybe a little too much credit, but I was like,
And
okay.
I will say too that like maybe part of me is a little more. I mean, it still probably would have been heavy-handed, but it was originally set to come out last May, before a lot of the shit that went down in 2020 went down.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't want to like accuse the filmmakers of trying to like, capitalize on recent tragic events or anything like that, but it definitely felt a little too forced.
Yeah, I feel like if it did come out last year, it would have been pretty distasteful.
Yeah. Like it's probably a good thing it got delayed an entire year.
On that note, I have just one nitpick. Like, I don't know if anyone else like felt anything about it or like caught it, but there are two scenes in Spiral where Chris Rock our protag, he robs some some drug dealers, and for the life of me, perhaps it was because I just wasn't following the plot, but it's not that complex a plot. But I have no idea why he robbed both of those drug dealers, and I low-key just got a feeling in the black. That was a Freudian slip in the back of my mind, and I just had like an old black man like Mohammed. Like y'all just want to see this black man do some hood. Like I don't know with like the like blasting like trap music in those scenes. The purposelessness of those scenes, it literally just to me felt like whoever was behind the camera was like, we need an urban scene to make this feel a little bit more urban.
Oh God, you're right.
I don't know. I
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I didn't think about it until you phrased it that way, but
Dude, I
holy
hated
shit,
it.
I think you're onto something.
I would agree too.
Which is a shock because Chris Rock was like the executive producer, right? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
who pushed all this. So
I would agree too, especially because I know that this is the first Saw movie that partnered up with some musical artist, I forgot who, to do I believe a licensed rap track theme song for the movie.
Oh wow.
Movie theme song, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a side note, I hate rap these days.
Oh my god, you guys!
Remember back when it was good? Now we got. I
IMDb'd the director, and he and I share a birthday.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And actually, he was the director of Saw 2 as well.
2 through 5, if I'm not mistaken, or 2 through 3. It's maybe 2 through 4. I don't know. Darren Lynn Bousman. He also did he also did Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Oof.
Yeah.
I dig Repo.
I also dig Repo, but a lot of people I've shared because I love the music.
Yes,
Repo.
absolutely.
Like, hell
Citrate
yes.
comes in a little glass of wine.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
I shared the soundtrack with a bunch of people, being like, "This is like my favorite musical. I just love this nonsense." And then like later on, they were like, they sought out the movie, and they were like, "Holy shit, the movie was such a disappointment compared to the music." And I'm like, "That's really interesting, actually." Because I obviously discovered the music through the movie. But apparently that soundtrack slaps so hard that everything around it is disappointing in comparison.
You can't always have Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Like there's a bomb ass soundtrack and the movie's good.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen Repo. I just know of it. And
same.
Bousman did it.
Yeah.
Repo's a blast. It's cheesy and schlocky, but it's a blast.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very cheesy and schlocky.
Well, my view on Spiral will just be summarized in my my worst Mike Suxlasa impression of the only spiral I saw was it going down the toilet.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, actually, where were the spirals?
No, there was a little bit. There was
There
a couple
was no
spirals.
budget
No,
for
there
spirals.
was a couple spiral graffiti marks.
We
No,
saw
what
the
tapes
hell?
there.
There were no spirals to spare because Junji Ito used them all.
Yeah.
Okay, an appropriate response.
Also remember that scene where they walked in the warehouse and it was just like spirals everywhere, graffitied on the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
And somebody's
barely.
yelling at you, look, it's the title of the movie.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't a graffiti in the background of a scene does not a title make.
Well, they didn't want to call it Saw for some reason. Because
Like, why
Spiral
not just
Saw.
name the movie after a background, like, I don't know, sunshine, because the sun is in the background of all the shots.
Well, I mean, the franchise is already kind of fucked up. I mean, Saw 7 is Saw the Final Chapter, and then it's followed by Saw 8, which is just called Jigsaw, and now we have Saw 9, which is called Spiral, and now there's another Saw in the works, and it's called Saw X.
Oh, God.
Oh no. Jesus.
If ever I wanted a franchise to die.
I can't wait to see how they incorporate a cop trying to take out dirty cops for the next movie. Since that's been the last two fucking Saw movies.
Maybe the killer will be a killer who targets cops who are themselves serial killers of dirty cops.
Oh.
It's a dirty cop killer.
So basically Dexter meets Saw.
Yes.
There we go.
Saw is the Trinity Killer.
Starring John.
Oh God.
Starring John Travolta, so we can cram in more Pulp Fiction references.
Oh my god.
And also some references to Grease and Saturday Night Fever.
I want to die.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So anyways,
that summarizes my thoughts on those two pieces of shit.
Yeah. Does anybody have any last words, or should Saber play us out?
Yeah, fuck those last two movies, everybody. Go watch Wish Upon.
Whoa, hold on. We gotta Wish Upon gets its own episode at some point.
That's the stinger.
Hell
Go watch Wish Upon so that you're ready for when we do a podcast about it.
Yes.
Because we need to decide what we're doing next, because it's either gonna be Wish Upon, or it's gonna be Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, or it's gonna be the fucking Fear Street trilogy.
I feel like we need to do the Fear Street trilogy, and I feel like I need to share my disappointment with the world about Infinite Darkness.
Me too. 1 out of 10 babies. No Wesker.
I think we could probably pair Infinite Darkness and Fear Street together. Originally, when I was thinking about it like months ago, I was hoping that we could do like all 3 animated movies and Infinite Darkness. But considering how often they talk about fear in Infinite Darkness, I think it's only fitting that we pair it with Fear Street.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
The Fear Cast.
The Fear Cast.
Yeah.
I love it.
It'll be beautiful. We still haven't seen Fear Street 2 yet.
No.
Is it out?
We will. Yeah, it came out on Friday.
Oh, Christ.
Oh, shit.
And Fear Street 3 comes out this Friday.
Oh.
Let's do it.
We could double feature it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It'll be great.
Yeah, the first one was terrible.
And, minor spoilers, but we like Wish Upon more, and Wish Upon is a giant piece of shit. But it is a beautiful giant piece of shit.
It's unrelentingly a piece of shit, but it's great.
Wish Upon is phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah.
But Fear.
But yeah.
Fear.
All right, so that was this episode of Gooncast. It's gonna be fun getting this together with all of our technical shenanigans that I'm editing out but I'm gonna mention anyway, just so the viewers know. It's not just you. There's been a lot of technical shenanigans. Do you know how many times I've had to mute the fucking mic because my puppy has been trying to fucking bite my headphone cable?
Oh my God, adorable.
Hey, we shamelessly released the Black Lodge episode. People who listen to this podcast know what kind of bullshit goes on behind the scenes.
It's true.
And it was great, to be honest. It was fun.
And also, that's something I should bring up too, is even though he's credited, the 2 raps we have were composed by Ghoulgutts here, Mike, and
Mummy Dust.
And MC Mummy Dust.
That's right.
Yeah, Mike and I are ready to take the world by storm. All that shit we were talking about, rap being bad earlier. Dude. We're gonna take it back.
Let's kill it. That's right.
I'm making this clear right now so the world knows. I want to Wish Upon rap.
Yes.
You got it, bro. You got it.
We will begin work immediately.
Amazing.
Pack the bowl. Let's go.
Okay. So this has been Gooncast. You want talk about yourselves again before I sign
Hell yeah,
off?
we do.
Same order?
Fuck out there.
All right, well, I am Cat Attack, aka the Attack Cat. Just as usual, horror aficionado extraordinaire.
And And shameless at that.
I'm so shameless.
And needs to stream more fucking Nancy Drew. That's right, I'm calling you out.
I know. Listen. I got a lot of bad horror movies to sit through. All right.
Fuck yeah, we do. This is your boy Lee Alder, the Valley Jester. We're streaming over at twitch.tv/Valley Jester. We're doing a replay of all the Kingdom Hearts ports on PC and getting sidetracked a little bit with Greedfall because as someone who's part Native American, I can't wait to make a whole bunch of jokes about the white man. And it's great so far.
Amen.
All right, and I have been Mike, aka Ghoulgutts. You can find me on Twitch by typing in Ghoulgutts. I never stream, but
Well, we'll fix that.
if I ever do, you can see it there.
Yeah, he runs on Ghoulgutts runs on Ghoulgutts Standard Time, where he'll tell me he's going to stream today, for example, and then he streams like 4 weeks later.
But then we get Eldritch nudes, so it's all worth it.
Yes,
it's true.
So.
We do get the cosmic horror nudes.
Yeah, but thanks again, guys. It was awesome, and
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Great
looking
to have
forward
another
to
master of
my next-
horror on the show.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And,
Okay,
and
well.
just so you know, you're never watching another good movie with us again. It's just gonna be nothing
yeah.
but crap.
Yeah, this was it.
Give me at least one or two, at least,
Relish
Negative.
the aliens.
No, Jason X is next.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
God.
No, Jason X is too good. It has to be Jason Takes Manhattan.
Unfriended. The dark web.
Oh, dude, I will leave. I will leave the room.
You can't leave. It's the dark web. It's a mystery box. And then once again, this is James, aka Saber0307. You can also check me on Twitch at Saber0307. I'm gonna be going through that Ghost Hunter course soon. There's a lot of phasmophobia on the channel, mostly because I'm a lazy shit who needs to get through his backlog and keeps putting off in favor of yelling at ghosts. So
And if you like Battle in Wonderworld.
we don't talk about that one. Everybody have a good night and don't watch Conjuring or Spiral. Get fucked.
Stay spoopy.
I want to die. Fuck you, Discord.
It's the Black Lodge still.
It's better than Skype. We tried doing this on Skype, Mike, and it was just the worst.
I have not been pissed off at a piece of technology so fucking hard as me trying to verify that I'm a human being on Skype.
Oh,
my
God.
Oh,
Yes, that's right.
Which music is the most sad?
Yeah,
You're like,
Mike,
what?
it
No
played
way.
3 sections of piano music and said, which one is the sad one? And like,
No
one of them was
way.
kind of up to interpretation.
Oh, my God.
I was about to say, like, how does one really decide that? What's sad for one might not be so sad for the
Yeah,
other.
It's a trick
And then-
question.
Make
Robots
me a
can't feel
robot
sad.
If I think, yeah, like.
And then
it's
they
so funny.
they showed me a 3D model of like an animal and said, like, turn the image until it's standing upright. And I'm like, okay, like the first one's a chicken. All right.
Okay.
Made the chicken stand up. And then it sent me like a moth in
Right.
flight. I was like, what? What the fuck is this shit?
Oh, my
Ridiculous.
Oh.